What's going on, man?
Frozen Brian.
I know my webcam's gonna be frozen here for a minute while it's doing a
Gonna
firmware
say,
update.
I hear a Brian.
Yeah, so I'm here, but you're a little quiet, Jordan. Too, by the way.
I'm a little far away from my mic. Hold on, I'm pouring myself a beer.
Just a little, not too bad. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sorry for the half-ass intro. Welcome to episode 78 of Michigan Brews. We're going to be talking about Tekken, just the video game tonight. Just
Maybe
talking
do a
about,
tournament.
Yeah.
yeah,
Fuck
yeah, absolutely. No, we're going to be talking about Tekken brewing tonight. I guess a little bit. I was making some notes yesterday and a little bit today before the show and stuff, and I was thinking about maybe we can not only talk about the new fun gadgets and toys and stuff like that make our hobbies a little bit easier these days, but maybe some old school, I guess you would call it tech that do not require batteries that maybe help our brew days too a little bit. So, and then wherever else the night takes us.
Well, you know what, Jordan? One of the most important pieces of tech, I think, in our hobby is webcam, right? Keeping it updated.
Yeah. You know, that's 100%. I've got
says,
two webcams actually, just in case one takes a shit.
I do have my other one, but I don't know. Nobody needs to see me. It's fine.
It's all good. It's all good. Just giving you shit. More importantly, before we dive into that, I am going to throw back to last week on what we're drinking, Jordan. I have all these green cap bottles that don't say shit, but you gave them to me.
Yeah, one of them's probably that cider. Or did we?
It says something, but I can't really read it.
What? Hold it up. What's it look like? It say? I can't see that. Oh, let's see here.
Is tonight a mystery night?
Looks like my handwriting. Sure, that's probably the other cider, the one that wasn't going to the competition.
You know what it's going to be? It's going to be a bottle of water.
That could be also.
I would be so excited actually to have a bottle of the seltzer water, right? Here I am, mystery Jordan bottle. I know they're all yours, so there's that.
Perfect.
I wonder
so
if
what am I drinking?
There we go.
I'm a Jordan shit. This one's really clear. Definitely a cider.
Yes, it looks like it. With the number of fucking hieroglyphs that were on the top of that thing, it's probably the cider I didn't turn in.
Well, that's what I'm going in tonight. What are you drinking? What are you starting with?
Me? I am. I found this. What's it called? Altez. It says Detroit tradition restored.
Really interesting.
Yeah, apparently bringing back some Detroit, lager. I've been digging the lagers recently. Really wasn't too expensive. Want to say it was like maybe $13-$14 for a 12-pack or something.
Oh yeah,
it's not bad. I recommend it. It's pretty good. I enjoy it.
Better than Hams?
No.
They're calling it the original Detroit lager. That's crazy.
2 originals?
Yeah, 2 originals on their website. That's neat. I've not seen that yet. So, but no, not in the same park as Hams.
Is it actually made by them? Like, if you look at the can, does it say brewed by?
Let's see here.
So it looks like it's brewed by Detroit Brewing Company.
Brewed and canned by Altez, yeah. Detroit Brewing Company.
Arthur says it was a classic in the 70s. So
yeah.
Detroit National Brewing Company.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Under special agreement, Marshall, Michigan.
So is it in the Roque family?
That's what I don't know if probably not going to show up there, but it's going to get blurred out. Little description on it. It's honestly not bad. It was kind of one of those, like, I still got Hams, so I'm not really at the point where I need to buy another handle of Hams. But I kind of wanted something light. You know what? Still, I was looking for a Mexican lager, like a good craft one, and can't find one anywhere. I even looked at Mega Bev, the one here in Portage. Couldn't find it, but this stuff was just sitting on the bottom shelf in the warm section at Meijer, and I'm like, let's try it. For a random grab, it's not bad.
Right on.
Speaking of hams and that lager, I sent Jason a text, or maybe I sent it in our group chat last night. A message about doing some blind tastings.
Yeah,
getting together
dude, that was like midnight, man. I was sleeping.
I think it'd be fun, like to just sit down, maybe like 6 or 8 loggers, and be like, hey, do we think hams comes out on that? Like, is that actually gonna happen for us, or throw down some New England side by side, or if we can find a bunch of Belgian ales or something. But
I would love to. I know David just shared not that long ago. David Jones found another kind of blind taste done by some other craft brewing professionals where hams came out on top again. So I would like to I'd like to get together. We'll have to figure that out maybe after HomebrewCon.
Yeah. I like the idea. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Although I think at this point we're also palated to hams that maybe we'd be biased.
I don't drink as much of it as you guys do, so maybe not.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We love our cheap beer though. Arthur, what you drinking tonight, man? I see you in chat. Appreciate you being here.
How about you, Brian?
I'm drinking Eagle Juice. You can't see it, but I got me a nice full glass of crystal clear Eagle Juice. So
what is Eagle Juice?
That's my American light lager, my freedom beer.
Oh, your freedom beer. Okay, that's a great name.
It's so I have the same recipe Brian gave me, different hops, and I have it in my fermenter right now, and I can't wait. I think I'll probably have it on keg by middle of next week. But yeah,
just in time for HomebrewCon.
I would like to try to get it done before our keepers meeting on Sunday, but I don't think I'll be able to. Got a lot going on this week. But anyway, yeah, no, it just goes into the theme, right? Just everybody's just on these light lagers. They're just American lagers. Just the mood.
Yep. I'm not upset about it. I'm enjoying it. I kind of wish there were more options.
Sure. Well,
yeah, I was just gonna say. So we are talking technology, right? Not Eddie Gordo and Tekken.
It's really just it's so fitting, yeah, that my cam's out for a sec. It's at 51%. It is coming. You will be able to see my freshly trimmed beard momentarily. So
fancy.
But yeah, Jason, you just bought another tilt, right? You just bought a second tilt.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about tilts a lot lately on the show.
Have we talked to him about it on the show?
Have we?
We talked about it last week, I think.
Oh, is that it?
So that's like my contribution to Tekken brewing right now, though, is I've jumped on this tilt train completely. Having bought 2 in a week. And we did talk about it last week. So I'm getting my phone rigged up. I'm doing the same thing you are, Brian, just so I can collect. I actually do have my black IPA going, not in temperature controlled environment with a tilt, so I can see. I know, so I can see what it does, and my hopes were to be able to tell you to fuck off, but I actually do see it getting a little bit warm, like today. Yep. It's up to like peak fermentation. It's at like 73 degrees.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I also worked outside a lot yesterday and did a bunch of other stuff, brewing and moving stuff around. I just didn't have I'm old and I hurt and I didn't feel like carrying it down to the basement. So
how about you tell us what a tilt is?
So a tilt is it's a little electronic device that you basically float in your beer, and it takes near real time hydrometer and temperature readings throughout the course of fermentation. So you're going to put the device in your beer right when you pitch the yeast, and it's going to track that for you. And the beauty of it is you can have it offload to Google Doc or a CSV file, whatever you want to set up. If you want to connect it to a Raspberry Pi, or if you want to, I wouldn't say cheap out because it's actually more expensive. But if you want to be lazy and just use an old phone like Brian and I are doing right now, you can actually set up and it'll just regularly send incremental data. What the temp and what the gravity reading is on your beer, so you can kind of track that trend line. And what's beautiful about it is it's finally giving me that visibility. I've never done temperature control outside of the lagers that I've done this year. I've always moved the beer around my house to kind of keep it in the right range. And I argue that I do okay. I brew decent, drinkable beer. It does well in competitions. I've won a fair amount of medals. So it was never really super important for me to really worry about temperature control. It's always been something I've wanted to do, to build out a fermentation chamber. But it's like the last part of the puzzle that I don't actively control. I do everything else except really mess with temperature control. So I'm really excited to have this device to kind of show me what my beer is doing, as it ferments, and then where my temperature is actually fitting into, so I can see if I'm, if it's something that I need to worry about, like Brian thinks I should, or if I can just keep doing what I'm doing. So they're really slick devices. They're, I think, about $135. To be honest with you, I've used Amazon points for both of them. So I have two of them, and I think I spent like $30 of my cash. Yeah, they're just give you more visibility into it, and you don't have to take gravity readings, right? Or you don't have to remember to
you just know. You don't have to open anything up or take samples, or it's all
so there's a discussion around it on the range that you can read the device from. Brian ferments in a stainless steel vessel, and so he has to be standing within like a foot of the vessel in order for the Bluetooth to get through and read. I ferment in Spiedels, and even having the Spiedel inside of my freezer, I'm able to read the tilt in the basement from my main floor. So if I walk over by my fireplace in my living room, I can get the signal on my main phone so I can see my tilt. And now I've actually got it jumping to the dock, so I can just log into the dock and read it.
Boom. Yeah, that's the way I would have it set up, like that. So that way, because now that I do have a little mini fermentation chamber, I'm also very curious, Jason, on what my basement would be like. I feel like I'd have to brew the same beer twice in a row and compare the two graphs.
So it's funny right now. I've got my basement. I've got a cold room in my basement, or what I consider the cold room. Which is kind of a closed off storage room that is always colder than the rest of the basement. And then I've got the upstairs. So I've got the lager is out of primary fermentation. I've taken it out of the keezer where I kept it at 55 degrees. And it's just sitting in the cold room right now. And so that room and that beer, having sat there for 2 days now, is at 61 degrees. And then the beer I brewed yesterday, the black IPA that I haven't, like I said, I'm old and I'm lazy and I haven't taken it downstairs yet. That's on my main floor where we keep the ambient temperature about 68 degrees. And that beer is fermenting right now at 72, 73 degrees. So I'm pretty confident if I had taken that beer down to my basement or even into that storage room, I could have kept it
high 80s or high 60s.
High 80s.
In that 66 to 68 range. I'm pretty sure I could have. So So this is the tech that I'm interested in during this year has really been around this fermentation control, temperature control, and then I'm doing or playing with it with these tilt hydrometers. And I think the biggest thing that tickles me is I don't have to worry about taking a hydrometer or a refractometer reading at the beginning, and I don't have to pull samples, at the end. I've just got the data. And I've read a lot online, and there's people that say, at any given moment, you could walk up and you can get a wonky reading because the thing is bobbling, or, especially if you ferment under pressure, there could be, bubbles.
Yeah, I can see that affected it. Yeah.
Right. But if you're pulling it, so I switch mine to log every 15 minutes today. Overall, if you take that data and you trend it out and you average it, you get a really clear, pretty, very accurate picture. I think Tilt says their gravity is accurate within 0.000002, and their temperature range is within 1 degree.
It seems about right. I'm pretty sure my fermentation finished a couple days ago, and sort of depending on I have my chamber open right now. I'm not temp controlling anymore. Just there's no point now that fermentation is pretty much over. But I see the gravity jumping around sort of between like 10-16 and 10-18. So I'm actually going to go take a reading either tonight after the show or tomorrow. I might even go dry hop tonight. But yeah, it seems to be just kind of based on what gas is still maybe like releasing from solution and stuff like that, changing just a little bit. But I know now for the most part, like I can tell that my fermentation's done. Like it's not continuously going down anymore. It's on this very pretty much stable, SG track. It's pretty nice. Yeah, that's what I like about it too. I'm sort of able to more to, especially with my IPAs. I do a lot of IPAs. Maybe sort of know when an appropriate time to dry hop is now, instead of having to either guess or continuously take like gravity measurements and stuff like that. I know my system well enough that in the past I used to wait maybe like 7 to 9 days and then just kind of go for it. But sometimes occasionally you have a weird fermentation. I've definitely had fermentations in the last 3 months that have taken 2.5 weeks to finish, just because things have either started slow or something else weird happened.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that today when you mentioned the dry hopping aspect of it. I've been like that too. I always just kind of, I left dry hopping up to kind of like timing, because I didn't want to pull a lot of samples, and I don't pull daily samples to see what's happening. But even with this tilt now and having the data, I feel like I can really dial that in. You're really supposed to start, right, or dry hop right when fermentation starts to slow, or right after high Krausen, or Krausen starts to diminish, and before it's always been a guess, and I guess now I can. I was thinking about like I can get a lot more accurate with this, and hop at a better time. And I'll be honest with you, this it's not New England, this IPA that I brewed yesterday. I pitched Verdant IPA on it.
Verdant, yeah.
And it's gone so crazy. I'm looking at the graphs and stuff. Like it's dropped 30 points overnight. And I'm like, shit, maybe I should dry hop tomorrow. Like,
it's a lot. Yeah.
I'm doing some work.
Yeah, no joke. I guess too, if we're talking about the tilt, we should probably mention have you guys heard of the eye spindle?
No.
So it does the same thing. It measures gravity based on like the angle of the floaty device. It's just homemade essentially. You can order parts from like Alibaba and throw them all in like a what are those little tubes called? It looks like it's bottle prefill or preforms.
What's
something
this thing
like
called again?
Yeah, that'll be
eye
fun.
spindle.
I was gonna say it looks like the picture that I just pulled up looks like somebody took an old White Labs vial.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a bottle preform before it's been injected or
Mm-hmm.
blown out. Interesting.
I've heard mixed reviews. I mean, they definitely seem to work okay. And again, for me, the draw, even for like a tilt, is just knowing essentially when things are stable. And I feel like something with this would at least be able to tell me that. I don't need it to be, accurate to the, you know, 0.001 gravity point or something like that. So it looks cool, and it looks like it might be worth looking into. The whole build has been around for a while.
I
You
say,
can
it
do
looks
like
like you'd
home
have
kit
to be
integration and stuff.
pretty good at soldering and whatnot. Because I'm looking at the parts list, and you got to be pretty okay with building your own electronics.
I don't have the electronics DIY bug like that. Like, I mean, it looks cool, and if that's your thing, that would be neat. And in fact, if that's your thing, and you'd be willing to make me a couple, I'd probably be into it. But other than that, I'm good with just buying the tools.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I have enough things on my plate. I love creating things. Absolutely love doing DIY, but my plate is full of DIY right now. So
If you are interested, though, Matt Ushman has 2 videos up. One on how to build a Play-Doh-ish scale, like a keg scale, and he just released another video this week on yeah, it had to have been last week. Today's only Monday. On building something called an eye blopper, which is essentially the DIY version of the Play-Doh airlock, which we can talk about too. But it every time the eye blopper works by measuring tiny vibrations that happen every time a CO2 bubble is released out of the airlock. And so essentially it starts counting like CO2 bubbles, and it's sort of
are you sure that's what it's called?
the eye blopper.
Yeah, because I I literally Googled eye blopper. I'm getting nothing but TikToks.
Yeah, I'll I can put it in chat. Eye blopper. I didn't double link that. We'll see. Okay, yeah, I went through it once, but for I know it sucks for us if we want to try to copy something out of chat. We have to. I don't even know how we do that.
Yeah, I was just saying. I just saw your
when we
spelling
click on
of it.
something, it tries to do that. Yeah.
I didn't have 2 P's in there. That was my issue.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, my webcam has successfully updated. Hold on a
Oh
second.
wait, we get to see. Oh, you're no longer just going to be you're still frozen.
Dang it.
Just a pulsing circle.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. It's kind of interesting though, because you're like I don't know, our brewing AI at this point, just like talking at us. Oh, there he is.
So yeah, so I don't know much about. I know that the Play-Doh airlock measures the off-gas CO2 and does a calculation, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if it actually does the same thing. I don't know if it measures vibrations or if it just kind of counts. I don't know how it does. I would assume it's probably the same idea, honestly. Way less accurate, but
yeah. I honestly, the first time I read about measuring CO2 or the off-gas CO2 as a way to measure alcohol volume, I was super skeptical because I'm just like, as a home brewer, there's so many different variables, and I don't know. That just seems like a less reliable method.
I like the tilt method or the eye spindle.
Yeah, it's just another cool DIY project. But yeah, definitely go check out Matt's channel if you're interested in seeing what it's all about. I mean, he put out a huge ass long video on doing it, like all the soldering and connecting pieces and all this stuff.
That's cool though.
I just
Yeah.
finished my Eagle juice. Of
I
course,
finished,
now that I'm off camera.
I finished my Altes. I don't know how to say that.
I've decided that our shows maybe should be opportunities for me to finish off old beer that's like sitting downstairs in some of my fridges and stuff. And I have some old like Ferndale sours and Ferndale stouts and old bottled homebrew that I brought upstairs and put in my fridge. So we're gonna
Oh,
You know, I
we're gonna
honestly,
dip into that.
that's kind of the thought that I went to. I mean, I grabbed the normal, throwback hams. But then
Yeah.
I'm like, no, man, I'm going to drink Jordan shit. I've got all this other beer up here. But by the way, this cider's delicious. So,
no, thank you. Like I actually, after trying like both of them side by side, I feel like the one I didn't submit is better. Which is
Do you
I
have a
think was the
lot
one that you're drinking. Yeah,
left?
yeah, I got
Okay.
about a half keg of each, I think.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, bottle a ton of that off.
you have the autofocus on your camera, just like auto zoomed in on you. Oh,
Yeah, you
zooming out.
and that
That
was cool.
So what are you drinking now, Brian?
So I did dip into the Ferndale barrel preserve apricot. So oak fermented, then rested on apricots, like some sort of kettle sour. It looks a little darker than I remember it being. Maybe not too bad.
So I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Was it about Jordan's cider?
Oh yeah. So talking about the cider, so I'm out. We were talking about ciders and Husted's came to mind because I really can't wait. I think we talked about this last week. I think we're all going to try to do a little bit more with cider this year.
Yep.
I definitely want to. But I was just going to say, I was there for opening day of strawberries, and strawberries at Husted's this year are phenomenal.
Oh, good.
So if you want to do anything with strawberries, if you want to, torture yourself with strawberry beer or do some kind of strawberry mix with a melomel in your local Kalamazoo, sorry, not melomel, mead. If you're local to Kalamazoo, check out Husted's. They had their berries were really, really good.
Good to know.
Do they have anything else here right now? Like blueberries or I'm not sure
No,
like
it's
when
too
the
early.
season is. Okay.
This time this year, it's blueberries strawberries and asparagus. I think are the only two crops that are.
Yeah. Speaking of, when I was at Right Brain last, I had a really good asparagus beer.
I was there with you, I think.
Yeah, you were.
That was really
you bought a
weird.
6-pack, I think.
I don't think that was me.
No, it's Chase. That's who it was. Yeah, because we lost him for a little bit.
I didn't want to have to kayak back with a 6-pack of beer or something like.
I did it with a fucking pie. It was fine.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, sure. It was a well-traveled wet pie.
So I think since we talked quite a bit about tilt and what we're doing with our tilts and then the other options with tilt there, I think the next step, Brian, that you can talk to is if you have the extra money, if you got 3 bills laying around, you can go the next level up and get yourself an Easy Dens, which I saw in Aspen. Thank you for that, and that seems pretty goddamn cool too.
So, Easy Dens is essentially so it's like $350 to start. So there's a price tag associated with it, but essentially it's a little box, maybe as tall as a deck of cards and as thick as like 2, that accepts. Gosh, I think you need maybe like 2 milliliters or less of liquid to get a gravity sample from it. So the big advantage for me, the reason that I decided to invest in one is in the last couple of years, I started to get really heavy into mead. For me, I prefer my meads a little bit more on the sweeter side. For my fruit meads, it's not necessarily an issue. I tend to over sweeten them at first and just let them ferment out and finish sweet. But for my traditionals, excuse me, and like maybe like spiced meads and other things, I tend to want to back sweeten a little bit. And what that entails is essentially chemically stabilizing the mead with potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfite, and then adding more honey back into it, so that the honey doesn't re-ferment. The issue with doing that is trying to figure out exactly how much honey like is the sweet spot. No pun intended. But doing bench trials is nice in that you can figure out what you like in terms of taste, but you are typically doing bench trials in such low amounts, like probably 4 ounces or less at a time, that getting a gravity sample with a hydrometer afterwards is pretty much impossible. And using a refractometer is not reliable. There are measurements out there that you can use to sort of translate fermented refractometer or fermented products, refractometer readings into like gravity and stuff like that, but it's still not super accurate. So the reason that I like the easy dens is that I can use that I can do small bench trials and figure out a gravity of the sample that I like, and then just do some basic math and scale up the amount of honey that I need to the rest of the liquid that I have. It's probably, I think I estimated that it will pay for itself over the course of the next like 50, 60 batches or something like that after I bought it. Just
I thought you were going to say years at first.
No.
I was like, wow.
Just off of like product that I'm not wasting. If I were to, do very large bench trials so that I could still take hydrometer readings, and then would have to, I mean, you can drink the bench trials, but
no, I'm looking at this thing on their website, and it looks like right now they're sitting at about 350 euros, which is like $375 off of their website.
You're looking at the US website, or look at More Beer.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, I'm looking like right on their website. Like I don't know why this came in at euros. Like, do I have a?
Are you on your VPN still?
That's what I was wondering. Like, where's? No, it's not even on. Like, that's weird.
It says 350 on More Beer, so I think you can probably get it for that much pretty much anywhere.
Oh, that's
potentially sometimes on sale, but
that's what's really cool is that you can actually measure proof with this. I'm looking at all the determinations that they have. I mean, yeah.
If you,
I will say, it was funny to watch Brian do it, and he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of a pain. You got to do this, you got to do that." And I was still commented like, all of that, like the taking the sample, the filtering the sample, running it through, and then rinsing. You were still done in like faster than I probably could have taken a hydrometer reading and washed my wine thief. Like, it was just really cool. So.
Yeah, I will say that there are some steps you have to do to use it. One, you want to make sure that the beverage you're putting through it is decarbonated, which you can do again just by running it through a coffee filter. You also want to make sure it doesn't have any solids, which a coffee filter will take care of too. I keep just a whole pack of like cheap dollar store coffee filters in my like mead kit downstairs, and just kind of run a sample through and kind of squeeze it gently through the coffee filter just so I don't have to wait for it to all percolate through. It seems to work well enough. And then, yeah, it comes with a syringe. I think it's the syringe that I have downstairs is labeled with some printer company. I think they use it for like refilling ink cartridges for printers or something, but it happens to be, the right size for the Easy 10. So
perfect.
Yeah, that's what they ship it with. And, you just pull up a little bit of a sample, squeeze it through the little tube. It'll come out the exit port attached to another tube that you can sort of send into a glass as a waste product, and turn it on, connect it to your phone, and you can kind of hear it buzz a little bit as it vibrates or does electronic things. I don't really know what it does. And then you get a reading right on your phone. The only negative thing I have to say about the Easy Dens, with the exception of the price, is that the app, um, if you want to save batches in the app, in order to save more than 10, I think they want you to pay a subscription fee, like a yearly subscription fee. So, I mean, there's almost no reason to use that feature of the app if you can, just take a note. But yeah, it's still cool.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I use it for my beer, though, too, and I use it for my mead, but totally worth it for my own personal use. I've used it for at least 20 batches of mead now, and it's been invaluable. I don't know how I would have done what I do right now without wasting as much mead as I would have. So
I could definitely see this being a pretty integral piece of your brewing arsenal, if depending on the volume that you're doing. Like, I love this thing because I'm a nerd, and this looks really cool. I'm still looking at the website because I wanted to know if they labeled like what their methodology of measuring is. Like, is it like somehow like a type of spectroscopy, or like what? Because I see that little tube in there, and I'm like, okay,
What's it doing?
but yeah, no. As for me, right, like if I start doing, if I feel like I'm gonna start doing more meads, or should home distilling ever become a popular thing, I could see that something like that being very useful.
Yeah, it's just an upgrade. I mean, you start out as a home brewer, you're either going to start with a hydrometer or a hydrometer refractometer. Both of those are super cheap. You can get a refractometer now for probably under $20, and the same for a hydrometer.
You could probably buy 3 hydrometers for like 10 or something like that.
But the thing that I like most about these, upping these devices, aside from potential accuracy and easy use, it's also, I feel it's more sanitary. There's, everybody says the number one thing about brewing is sanitation, and like with the tilt, I put it in there, I never have to open that beer. I even think with the Easy Dens, you're able to at any time get a very, very small sample, even if it's with like a sterile pipette, or even if it's after the fact, like that's what started this weekend. I asked Brian what the ABV on heel juice was, and he didn't know. So we just pulled a sample and did it. So,
yeah.
So I think that's the benefit of it. It just adds an extra layer. So yeah.
Jordan, I did find in the FAQ, it says the Easy Dens is a digital density meter that uses the renowned, because everybody uses it, the renowned oscillating YouTube principle. The letter U, not the Google channel. Google don't sue us. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah,
okay.
Google renowned oscillating YouTube principle, I guess.
So that's tech in relation to alcohol content, gravity, temperature. What else is what else are your big tech things this year in brewing, Brian? I think out of the three of us, at least I believe you're probably the techiest brewer.
Gosh, I hate to keep going back to my Play-Doh kegs, but damn if I don't love my
That's where I
Play-Doh
was going.
kegs. Yeah.
I was hoping those were gonna come up because they're on my list.
I cannot get over. So I'm going to pull this up right now, and I think I've showed it on the stream before. But so I wrote my own tap list like software using the API that Play-Doh provides for their kegs. So and it's not anything super fancy or anything like that, but this is downstairs what my tap list looks like. I have it displayed on like a 22-inch monitor that's hooked up to a Raspberry Pi, and the fill list over here on the side tells me in real time, essentially how much beer I have on tap for that particular tap. I have one sitting outside of my keg that my CO2 tank sits on, so I can tell when my CO2 is getting low. Normally with CO2 tanks, you don't know how low it is until that last little bit where it drops from full to empty, essentially. That little, dial doesn't really do crap. So I like having a little bit of a heads up there. Not that I don't have an extra tank sitting around that I haul around my basement to do other things with, but I don't know. It's nice. Top left, I just like knowing how many gallons I have on tap. That's just like one of those things like, oh yeah, I got, a little over 10 gallons of beer on tap right now. And that seems like a problem, but in reality, I'm a home brewer. So that's low. And 2 is actually my sparkling water. I don't have it on there right now. I probably should list it on there, but
You've been drinking on Eagle juice?
I've been drinking the hell out of some Eagle juice. I'm gonna do another brew probably next week, and just have it sit maybe, or maybe the week after. Maybe I'll try to have something sit while I'm at Homebrew Con. But I want to enter that into the state fair and potentially MHF. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see, but yeah, it's nice. As soon as I take a pour, this will adjust in real time down. It shows me, because I do a lot of bottling for competitions, I wrote in some math to show me how many 12-ounce bottles worth of beer I have left. So, I mean, it's not like I couldn't do the math right from the number of ounces that I have left, but, just really nice to be able to look at stuff and know how much beer I have left for competitions and stuff like that.
I've definitely got caught on that where I'm like, oh, this is a good beer. I kind of want to bottle some up, and then don't do it for a little while, and then all of a sudden the tap starts sputtering at me.
Yeah. And you don't want to pick up the keg to feel, because as soon as you do that, if you're not using a top draw system, and even if you are, depending on how low it is, you start stirring up all the shit that collected and compacted at the bottom of the keg, and now your next pour, depending on how rough you were lifting it up, is not, as clear or whatever again. Not that I'm a huge stickler on clear beer, but there is something to say with like, sediment somehow sometimes affecting like the flavor of beer and stuff like that. And, the presentation, it's always just really nice to drink a absolutely crystal clear lager instead of, like imagine if this was like an Oktoberfest or something like that. You don't want to drink an Oktoberfest that looks like that. So
yeah, might taste right and all that, but if I'm going after it, it's part of the experience.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I like them. They are not the cheapest. I think they're something like $120 a piece. You can buy them in packs to make them around like $100 a piece. But they're cool. And back to Matt Ushman again. I'm naming dropping you a bunch tonight, bro. But he has a build on building keg scales that he connects to HomeKit, or I'm sorry, Home Assistant. HomeKit's the Apple thing. So that's kind of something I wanted to bring up too. Is there's a lot of integrations with Home Assistant that you can do. Basically anything that can send data out, anything that can have like an API can sort of integrate with Home Assistant. You can run it on like a virtual machine or on your computer or on a Raspberry Pi, but essentially it's this sort of central hub for all of the Internet of Things toys in your house that can like send or receive data. So actually, not that I'm not pulling all the things up tonight, but let's see if I can pull this up too. So I have my Home Assistant running on a Raspberry Pi. It just kind of sits in my office. The only big thing that I use it for right now is to monitor my like weather related things, like the temperature outside, the temperature inside, when my Nest kicks on and off and stuff like that. Let me share my screen again. So this is the sort of stuff that it can do, and it could do this for a scale too. Like it could tell you, like this green line on top could be like the amount of beer that you have, like a keg, like over time or something like that. But on top here is the temperature outside versus the temperature inside in my house over time, based on information that my Nest is feeding versus information that I get from AccuWeather, I think. Down here, if my heat or AC kicks on, I'll get like a populated bar. That'll be either red or blue, just so I can see like how long it kicked on or off. Right now with my Nest, it'll show me the total time from the day before that it was on, but I don't really get like an hourly breakdown or anything. So that led me to sort of look into creating something like this. What I just did, but and then at the bottom is humidity. Again, it's humidity inside my house versus humidity outside my house. So it's a little more humid inside my house than not right now. And I just use that to sort of track as well. Because if it gets way too humid in my house, I go and beg Shana to let me turn on the AC because I get super uncomfortable. So I use that to sort of like monitor my own comfort as well. But you can do this sort of stuff with Play-Doh. I'm sorry, the Play-Doh kegs, but probably Tilt too. Honestly, I'm sure there's a way to, if you Google it, send Tilt data to Home Assistant to track that sort of stuff. Matt's iBlopper video sends data to Home Assistant. You can also set up triggers so that when certain things reach certain values, you can send like text messages or push notifications to your phone. It's a really powerful piece of software to be, totally free. It requires a little bit of setup and a little bit of know-how, but there's like 5,000 billion guides on YouTube and online and wherever to set this stuff up. So
I like how you had one section on there that was just labeled hacks.
So I can't remember what hack stands for. So it's not actually like hacks. It's
I kind of figured, but I was just I'm making fun of you.
But it's the Home Assistant community store, so it's like yeah.
Of course, they
community
hacks.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the answer too is you absolutely can send Tilt data to Home Assistant. I think it's through MQTT.
Okay.
So
just based off of that, you can make your own push notifications. Like you can say like, hey, when my Tilt gravity reaches 1030, because that's when you want to dry hop or something like that, like send me a push notification. And so you're not consistently monitoring your Tilt for information. You're instead getting notified in real time of when it's time. You mosey on down and do your dry hop. Super cool stuff.
I use if this and that for
mm-hmm.
a lot of different stuff. At least that's what not Brad, but Jason. This one's Brian, that one's Jason. I thought that's what you said about if. Okay, now that's Brian, now that's Jason.
Yeah.
That's what you were saying about Tilt integrating with, but not that it's brewing related, but I use if this and that for all sorts of different push notifications and automations in my everyday life.
Yeah, sure. I need to. I just kind of cheesed out and just have it dumping to a Google Doc. But now that Brian said that, it's like, yeah, I need to get fancier with this. It's just cool.
It is just cool. I totally agree. It's not necessary. Again, I don't know if this does anything.
Nope.
Fantastically particular for me to make my beer better or anything like that. it's just a ease of use thing and a peace of mind thing. And
Well, I mean, that's all of technology. I mean,
true.
Most tech isn't there to, in some cases it does make things better, but oftentimes, like, the technology is developed to make lives easier. Like push notifications. Like, I don't want to have to sit there and monitor shit constantly, or have a screen running that I can go down and check all the time. But just send it to my phone, and
Yep.
then that'll go to your watch, so I can be anywhere in my house. And as soon as that beer hits, whatever that specific gravity is, like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, no.
Don't you have, Brian? Don't you have a push set up with your Play-Dohs to tell you when somebody pulls a pint?
So the integration can do that. I have it turned off, but totally, like if you have kids
Boom,
at
you
home,
just sold Play-Dohs to my wife.
yeah, exactly. Like as soon as a pint gets pulled or something like that, I think it measures it in. So the way that it works, as far as I can tell, is it continuously pulls the weight, POLL, and as soon as the difference in weight is enough to be like maybe 2 ounces or so or more, it registers that as a pour, and it will create like a piece of data for it. And if you have notifications turned on, it will send you a notification for that. So it's not like it's gonna send you a notification every time the weight fluctuates a little bit because of just, I don't know, just the way that scales work. Sometimes it's continuously monitoring, so it might fluctuate a little bit sometimes, but yeah, as soon as 4 ounces are poured or something like that, you can get a text or a push notification on your phone that says, hey, like, someone just poured some beer. And that'll happen anywhere you are. You don't have to be connected to your home's Wi-Fi or anything like that. You can get that notification anywhere. And so that's really cool. I don't use it because I don't need that, but it's totally helpful. I can totally see that. And in fact, it might not even be the worst idea to have it on all the time in case you
What if you
have a leak or something like that.
Yeah, there's something about your tap or
Yep.
So in saying that, the Play-Doh scales also have this nice feature in that they can detect liquid. So as soon as liquid reaches a certain point in the scale, they can send you an alert saying, hey, liquid detected. And if you have a leak in your keg, which I definitely have had before, it can send you a notification before your entire 5-gallon keg gets leaked into the bottom of your keezer, which really sucks.
It's the whole reason I have a shop vac.
Yeah.
That's
it actually there was I think I was talking to Brian about a comp once, and I had what I had figured on being about 8 bottles of looper left in a keg, and I put a picnic tap on it to taste it, make sure I had the right keg, and I was going to bottle it in a few hours. And I tucked it away, and I came back luckily like 20 minutes later, and half of the volume that I had planned on using was in the bottom of my
keezer.
Yeah.
Picnic tap leaked. And I just scrambled to get enough. Actually, I think that was for nationals. I think I had to supposed to send 6, and I think I was left with no choice but to send 5 and just hope.
Yep, that's similar. Mine was also for a competition. It was what was it? Distant Whistle, when they were doing. I think it was Distant Whistle when they were doing
I forgot about those. Yeah,
a wit beer competition.
I remember that one. Yeah,
a while ago, and I was super excited. But I was like, as the beer was brewing and whatnot, I changed all my tap lines, which was a huge pain in the ass, but needed to happen. Hadn't done it in a few years at that point, and I'm probably getting about time to do it again. Apparently, one of the O-rings on my CFL connectors just didn't quite seal right. So as I was carbonating it, it just out of the keg into the keezer, all 5 gallons of it.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, and I went away for that weekend, so like I was out of CO2.
Oh,
I was out of beer,
Oh,
and
Uh,
there was that beer was bad. I mean, there was nothing like it was just in my keezer. So like, yeah, I was like,
damn.
well, good excuse to buy a wet dry vac. So went and bought one, sucked it out, and dumped it out back. Sad panda, but I learned.
yeah. The most important thing. After
Right.
it's
Yeah, after I don't know what, like, I love the idea that Play-Doh scales can detect moisture or liquid. In my instance, in that instance, since I was away for that weekend, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have just been getting pings the entire time. They're like, your keezer's wet, and like I know that the beer's
Just-
sitting at the
yeah,
bottom of it.
just feeling the pain. You can't turn those off in the app. So if you want to just drink and not get notified anymore, you just open up the app and be like, no, just
no.
Yeah.
cease the hurt.
That would be my thing. It'd be like, I know I just pulled a pint. You damn whatever.
Yeah, I have all those notifications turned off except for the liquid one. So, which I've never seen, thankfully. I should probably someday like dip one in some water or something just to see if something happens.
Are you working?
Yeah, I do have one that I haul around my my basement too to use for things occasionally. The cord that it comes with is powered. So here's a thing, I guess, too, that I should mention. It's powered through USB. It doesn't have like a electrical like
Weird.
like socket outlet. It's a USB cord. So if you're going to buy a bunch of these to run them, you want to buy a nice USB hub that can supply power to at least as many USB ports as you're going to be using for these kegs. I have one mounted to the back of my keezer that they all plug into just for power, and then the USB hub just plugs into a oh my god, what's the name of the thing that has like 6 power sockets in it that plugs into a wall?
Power strip.
Yeah, a power strip.
Yeah.
It's this fucking Ferndale beer, man. It's like
That's all right. I even blanked for a second. I'm like, power conditioner? Like, that's not, no.
a power strip. Yeah, so
That's why we drink.
that is why we drink. Maybe this is a reason to not drink as much. I don't know. But to move away from the Play-Doh stuff, one thing that I don't have, and that up until very recently, and I started to get more into dry least, I was very much considering, was a microscope and a hemocytometer. So stuff to measure cell counts. I think that's what it's called, right? The
Flow cytometer, I think, would probably be what you're, or just cytometer altogether. Hemo would technically mean blood.
It is. Yep. You use
Okay.
you use the one that they use for blood for using cell count for like yeast cell counts. Like apparently it works really well. So the way that it works, I guess, is you essentially determine how many. You first determine what you're going to consider like alive cells and dead cells in terms of like where they sit, like on squares
Mm-hmm.
that you'll put under a microscope, and then you essentially count how many alive cells are like within your square count and how many dead cells are within your square count, and you kind of scale it up using the maths, and you can get an idea of like what what the cell count is for what you're going to be pitching into your beer. I've in recent years, this was like years ago that I was considering it. In recent years, I've sort of came to the conclusion that if I freeze yeast, I have a huge bank of frozen yeast in my freezer, and if I can get a yeast going and I can tell that it's like fermented all the way through in my starter after like 3 or 4 days or something like that, if that long, then I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a strong start. I've never had an issue with it, with the exception of Imperial lately. Not that I mean to call them. I think we talked about that like last show.
It's came up a few times. Yeah.
I don't think we wanted to call them out specifically, but I've had some issues with Imperial yeast. But I've since gone to like a lot of dry yeast. I use dry yeast for maybe 1/3 of my brews these days, and that's slowly moving towards like the 1/2 market, especially with Verdant. I've been so happy with Verdant lately. For my
you guys keep talking
IPAs.
about that.
Yeah. Brandon Edwards turned me on to that yeast. I really like it a lot.
I got some off of Brandon. I think I'm doing this is my 3rd fermentation with it. And yeah, it's just.
You guys say that's technically like London 3?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, which is weird. They call it Verdant IPA. But it's the new London 3 equivalent or acceptable substitution.
Yeah. But yeast counts, I think, for the homebrew, I think are cool, but maybe not necessarily as important. A lot of the things that we do as homebrewers sort of originated maybe from what like professional brewers do, and a lot of what we do isn't always as necessary as what they do, I think. And while it's still cool, I don't know if it's quite as necessary. Maybe if you're doing like repitches and stuff like that and you're really into it, I definitely would not want to turn anybody away from doing things that are going to be fun or informative for them or anything like that. But I've personally since decided it's not as important.
I think it's cool if it's fun, if you find enjoyment in it, but it's definitely not required for the hobby.
But again, I guess that's been everything that we've been talking about tonight so far.
None of it is.
So,
you're right.
Yeah.
None of it is absolutely required. You can, as a home brewer, you don't need to even take any goddamn any of these readings, but if you just want to brew a batch of beer and drink it, enjoy it.
You know what I was thinking about before the show too, since we were talking about technology, and I think that this was potentially one of the coolest homebrewing advancements for a while until the company shut down. But do you guys remember Pico Brew?
Yeah.
So for those unfamiliar with Pico Brew, they had a bunch of different systems, and what you could do was essentially buy, or maybe you could even create your own on their website at one point.
I think you could.
But you could buy a kit, kind of. It was like a sort of like a Keurig pod, but with beer ingredients. And you would stick this pod in your Pico device, and it would read the barcode from the kit and figure out what it needed to do to brew that kit with regards to hop additions and boil times and mashing like the grain that was in this pod, this kit and stuff like that. And I don't know.
Amazing.
Oh, it was what a great concept for people that want to like have homebrew beer at home, but like don't necessarily have the time to dedicate to making beer, because like an all grain batch takes me at least 4 hours.
Yep. The volume wasn't that big. It wasn't a full 5 gallons. It was only like what?
I don't think that they did have a 5 gallon one. They had a 1 gallon for sure, maybe 2.5.
It was like 1 to 2 gallon tops.
Yeah.
It was really small, but it was neat. I honestly made fun of it because you watch the video and they're just like, slide this thing in, and
it's kind of like is it really home brewing if the
Yeah.
machine does it all for you? But
Then
I mean, kind of.
they'll come back 7 days later and
It was
drink a beer.
definitely made at your home, but
No.
yeah, you lose a lot of control. Most of the people using those devices probably didn't temp control their fermentation, you
No.
know, because
Goodness.
really all that thing did it did it ferment in there too?
It did. It fermented, and
Yeah.
I actually believe
Okay.
that it carbonated. It
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I
okay.
believe it was an all-in-one unit. They
you
just
served
kind of
ferment.
did everything.
What a cool concept.
Pico is probably like the hipsteriest one of the bunch, if that's a accurate.
I was going to say there were a few different companies that
There were.
did something similar.
Yeah, I actually remember this guy, in my neighborhood, or somebody visiting my neighborhood saw me brewing one day and walked over and was all like bragging because they worked at Whirlpool, and Whirlpool was making like this all-in-one. You brewed in it. You brewed in it. It fermented in the same vessel, and then you served off of it too. It was like a drink,
okay.
from brew pot to kegerator, and that one was full size batches.
Oh,
And I just remember thinking, like, I think I even told the guy, like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Like,
it had to have been as much as like a 3 vessel like spike system or something.
I was just gonna say like that.
I
You're
wanna
looking
say
like
it
$5,000
kinda-
or something.
Yeah, no, it was expensive, and it looked like a dishwasher.
Yeah.
It was Whirlpool.
Yep.
So, like, you got this big appliance. It's
I mean, if I had a dedicated brew house on my property, if I could just, basically shove a giant Tide Pod into a huge dishwasher and
get alcohol from
and get beer out in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I think I'd be down. But if I had, the bullshit money to blow, but
I think that
other than that,
problem with some of those is just, Pico Brew is definitely currently closed.
There's a whole secondary like community of like that have like hacked it, I think, or that are attempting to, and that like are sort of engaging in how to create pods for it still, or how to like make it still work. There's a whole community still out there dedicated to using this thing.
I was trying to find out how much the pods cost, because that's what I was going to say. It was like, I think Pico's downfall was it was just so freaking expensive.
Oh, I never looked at that.
I never got that deep into it.
Yeah, I mean, by the time
the unit itself was kind of expensive as well, so that's what I remember. I remember looking at it, be like, oh, that'd be fun, but it also kind of, the other thing that I guess kind of pulled me away from it is that it kind of takes away, at least I felt like at the time, I again didn't do that much reading into it because I felt like it was automated, which is awesome, but kind of took away from that ability to experiment and make things your own. Like, if you want to mash at a slightly higher temperature for a recipe, create a little bit more body in the beer, or mash lower, and then you don't have that.
There's a feeling of accomplishment having like slaved away for 4 hours in a day, and and then come out 2 weeks later with like this beer that you made. There's something to it. So I was outside the other day, and I had, so sometimes I like to mill outside, especially when it's warm, just so I don't get all the grain dust in my basement.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not good to breathe in anyway, but I'll haul my mash tun outside, and I'll haul my mill outside and mill right on top of my mash tun, and just slowly, stir water into it or whatever afterwards. But I was just thinking, as I was like dumping grain into my mill and milling my grain, it's like you're literally creating beer from like nothing, from like ingredients from just,
it's alchemy.
It really is. Like it's so
modern day alchemy.
Cool when you really get down to it. It's like baking, in that aspect too. There's sort of a lot of science in baking.
Speaking it,
It's like, if I get my French press out and I mill my coffee and I get the right temperature and I dick around with that press and go through the motions of it, like I appreciate the work and the effort I put into that, and I drink that cup of coffee and it's more special, right? And you only do it on special occasions.
Right.
But if I pop a pot into my Keurig, I'm just drinking a fucking cup of coffee.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not getting any other fucking stimulation out of it. So that's what I put into it. It's just
No.
And that's the rub of it is, if you want something that can make beer like that, like just make me some homebrew, then you're not really into it for the art. You just want homebrew, and then it's really expensive, just really crazy expensive. So it just, their business model was shit. And they're gone.
Yeah. I don't think anything like that still exists anymore.
No, actually, I just tried to go because I was looking for the price of the pods. Other than people in comments saying that they were expensive, the site is gone. The URL.
Oh shit! Wow. Okay.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Pico Brew. I remember when that first came out, there was like Pico Brew was a huge thing, and then like 3 or 4 other companies came out to do shit like that. And
yeah,
I feel like I was just kind of like one of those like hype train, like, and that everybody started developing it because they felt like they could do it better. But then, like, I don't know, the market's not there, because I still feel like you get into brewing and you buy that as your initial unit. Like, I'd love to see the metrics on how many people bought that as their entry level unit, as opposed to people who were like started with extract and propane burners outside and then worked their way up into all grain and a kegerator and whatnot, and then switched over to a Pico Brew. I'd be willing to bet that's probably, there's probably a big differential there. It's probably just the people who had to spend the money to entry.
And then there's some of us that do go backwards, right? Because I did just officially brew my first extract beer last week.
I was just gonna bring that up. I was gonna say, speaking of technology, like, extract's technically part of like a technology.
And I said at the beginning of the show, maybe we go back in time a little bit and get to the less battery required stuff. So yeah, go into your extract thing, Jason.
I mean, it was boil water, mix in some powder, and
Mm-hmm.
You said it felt like cheating.
oh, it was totally like you said, I didn't mill, I didn't get the mash in. I didn't have to worry about mash temperature. I didn't have to worry about my mash timing. I didn't have to worry about stuck grain or a stuck mash. It eliminates a good, I think, 60% of the brew day.
Yeah.
Probably even more. And then to the point that, I mean, you hydrate your powder, or you stir in your syrup if you're going that route, and you boil forever as long as you want. You do your hop additions and you chill. You're done. So it was like a less than 2 hours, where a normal brew day is, if I'm really busting out, I could probably, if I'm really on my timing and my prep, you can probably knock out a brew in 4.5 hours. And this was probably an hour and 50 minutes.
Yep.
That's amazing. I may have to switch over to doing some extracts.
Oh, dude, I am so all about it now. I think I might still stray away from liquid, just because they tend to they tend to oxidize, and I think they have more of an expiration date than the powdered stuff does.
I feel like you also, like, if you're adding it to, hot liquid and whatnot, and you're on top of your burner, maybe you could get some scorching at the bottom of your kettle.
Yep. It definitely does not mix as well, would be my guess.
In fact, I did prehydrate off the stove.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a super good idea.
That's wonderful.
I took all the powders, made sure they were well mixed before they went to the burner, or mix them.
I may have to do an extract brew next. I don't know, I keep saying, I feel like the past 3 episodes have been like, I'm gonna brew this, I'm gonna brew this next. I'm gonna, like I just haven't brewed enough. I gotta satisfy that need. And
Make some eagle juice. Do it inside on your stove or something. So this isn't my recipe. I need to stop calling it eagle juice. This is the NHC gold medal winning recipe from 2021 for American lager, but I'm calling it eagle juice. I used a different hop, and you used a different hop, so it's a different recipe. So,
honestly, you were talking about, you might enter it. And then I'm like, well, depending on, the brews that I can pull off, I'm like, well, I might have to enter it. And then I kind of felt like a douchebag because I'm like, you gave me the recipe. Not only did you give me the recipe, you bought the shit for me because you're
But here's the thing.
Cut the metal in half.
You're fermenting differently than me.
Right.
You used different water than me.
Yep.
And you use different hops than me.
I know.
So,
no, I justified it to myself. Where if I had to do this, I'm like, I did exactly that. It's my water. We use different hops. You use Noble Citra. I use Noble Laurel. And then my water is amazing. Your water is, I get it.
It's neutral in every way until I add things to it. Brandon says supposedly DME mixes better in cold water, which wouldn't surprise me, honestly. So I did mix a bunch of DME in, to this boil, and it did eventually, mix in and stuff like that, but it immediately clumped into balls.
Yep.
When I did that.
There's Mr.
What's up,
Rushman.
Matt? What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us.
I was gonna say I mixed it with the hottest tap water because I was taking it out of my tap. So I'd probably mix it at like 130 degrees, and don't give me shit about the temperature of my tap water. But yeah, it clumps a little bit.
Jason.
Beat the shit out of it.
Not everybody has the same love for their top layer of dermis. You can shower 130 degrees.
Almost every day that I want to change the temperature of that, and then I'm just too lazy to go downstairs.
It's a dial. You just eat.
I know.
Downstairs, like I could go change it 3 times.
I know.
While I go get a beer, which I'm gonna go do real quick.
While you do that, I'm not super unhappy with. I'm really, maybe I should have drank these earlier. I don't know why I've let these Ferndale beers sit so long. I think it's just because I need to be in a particular mood to drink, a apricot preserve barrel sour.
It is why I got them sitting. So
this is like a 18-month-old Pisces. It's a double chocolate imperial stout, and it's really solid. I'm digging that. I am more and more okay with my decision of having these shows be my drink all the beer on the shelf downstairs to make room for more mead shows. So,
right on.
Yeah, I need to buy some mead racks, or wine racks, I guess. I have a lot of my mead sitting in corked bottles, sitting upright right now. And you'll read conflicting opinions online of whether that's okay or not. There's a study that was done by the Australian Wine Institute. I'm probably getting the exact name wrong. A couple years ago, saying that there's enough moisture under the cork to keep the entirety of the cork hydrated, even if it's sitting upright, just based off of evaporation or whatever. But I cracked open a bottle of something the other night. Oh, it was a peach blackberry mead that Bill Blakesley and I did last year, because it's been almost a year now. And it was quite tasty. Not my favorite, but way better than it was a year ago. Bill, when you listen to this on the podcast, whenever you do, crack one of those open. It's much better than it was when we first made it. It's still a little hot, still a little weird, but super yummy. I drank pretty much the whole bottle by myself. But the cork cracked in half almost as I was opening it up. And I'm not sure if that's just because I suck at opening bottles. That could be. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was because the cork was a little dry too.
I thought it didn't. We
Matt.
just had the same thing. Like we had a cork crack last time we opened one together too, didn't we?
We did.
What are we talking about now?
Matt, I'll get back to you in a sec, buddy.
Just Brian and how he stores his 100 bottles of mead.
Oh yeah, I've got a meat. I'm gonna have to bottle up here soon.
Brandon, totally do that. Steep some specialty grain or something with it too, and just like have an easy brew day. Yeah,
that's actually
absolutely.
that's how I started brewing. I never
really
did full extract. It was almost always something that had specialty grains that were steeped.
Even lazier and do like just cold brew specialty grains the night before.
Yeah. Brandon says, since I've got a bunch of that Golden Light DME from Bell's, I'll have to do some relaxing DME IPA brew days. So absolutely. Yeah. Matt, I had you up in a second ago, but he says he sees the Arduino link. So we were actually talking about the iBlopper, I believe.
It's a terrible name.
I know. So I was talking about your video for a sec. So, tonight's our technology video or night or whatever. So we were talking about tilts and eye spindles for a second. And then it was just serendipitous that you released that iBlopper video last week. And so I happened to mention that too. And so maybe you know this, Matt. Does the iBlopper work off the same principle as the Play-Doh airlock? Is it all about vibrations? I don't know if it's like measuring CO2 or it's measuring vibrations, the Play-Doh airlock. I know the iBlopper does. And then we talked about Home Assistant for a second too.
We can bring that back to the YouTube thing here once he answers. I did some quick reading.
About what?
About how that Easy Dens works.
Oh, yeah, go for it. What is it? What was it?
YouTube, yeah. YouTube, not
the YouTube
oscillating YouTube
principle. Okay, yeah.
So it's what it seems like is that they have a speaker and a microphone on either side of that tube, and the liquid goes in, and they shoot sound through it and measure reverberation of the tube.
No,
the density of the liquid.
Wow, that's so cool. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Like I was saying, like I was thinking spectroscopy, where they, it's very similar. They have a glass tube or a reader, and they shine light through it and measure the refraction of it to measure the size of the molecules within the liquid.
Yeah.
But this is different. I didn't know this was a thing to measure like how shit shakes based on the density of the liquid,
based on the noise that it makes when it runs. I don't know if you remember hearing that, Jason, but that totally makes sense now.
It buzzes. It's vibrating. It's basically the speed of vibration. It's not the sound that it makes. It's what the vibration does to the liquid. Liquid, different densities are going to react differently to that sound, and this obviously has something that it can measure the vibration.
Right. It kind of like triggered me thinking though, like I feel like it have to be to like measure so precisely that it'd have to be pretty sensitive. Which does it come in like a padded case?
It's pretty thick. Yeah, it feels like if you drop it, it's probably going to be okay, but that you still kind of don't want to. Jake.
Yeah,
from
throw around the $300 glass tube inside.
I was talking to Jake last year from Presidential, and I guess he had the version 1 and he accidentally dropped it and it busted. So rip.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not impermeable.
Yeah, because I don't think you'll be able to replace that tube in there. Like if that busts, like you're done. I did see, however, they apparently sell a care package, like a service package. So I don't know if that would cover something like that. Not that I'm getting into selling that type of stuff, but just knowing the sensitivity of the way that's working, like might be worthwhile if you're gonna buy one.
Yeah.
Seems like a super sensitive piece of equipment.
It is.
But you get amazing accuracy out of it. If you really need to know the data the data points of what you're brewing. Like,
I still run RO water through it like once a month, and it still reads accurately. But I try to take really good care of it too, and run like
good.
warm RO water through it for most of my measurements whenever I can. And I was talking to Jason about this. I'm not sure if we can run like PBW through it or something. I kind of want to, because I feel like that might break up some solids in there and just flush it with more RO water. I don't think there's anything special about the inside of the glass. It's probably just glass,
it's
right?
borosilicate. It's the same stuff that like your
okay.
beaker is going to be made out of.
Yeah, I was almost wondering though if instead of PBW, if you should just do like a vinegar rinse.
Okay. Yeah.
Vinegar followed by like an RO flush.
Yeah, vinegar than RO. But yeah, no, I mean it's super super cool. I just I'm gonna ride the tilt train for a while.
Yeah, tilt's on my list. I want it. Play-Doh is also on my list. That's those are probably the two things that I'm really looking at picking up. Not quite sure which one's gonna be first. I feel like if I pick up Play-Doh scales, it's probably gonna be all. I've got 4 taps. I'm probably gonna do all of them at once.
Yeah.
I'll give you my tapless software.
Yeah.
Oh,
thank you.
So.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I've got a few extra monitors laying around the house, so up above the keezer it'll go.
Yep.
I was all about the Play-Dohs when I was building the bar and building the keezer. And I really, there was one night where I almost ordered them. I misunderstood Brian, and I thought he said 3 for $100.
Would that be amazing? That'd be so sweet,
right?
Oh, I would have already bought them at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I think I had even told Amy, I'm like, I'm spending $200. I'm buying 6 of these things, blah blah blah, and then I got on there and they were $100 a piece, and I'm like, yeah, no. But now I'm in the middle of, well, we've decided now to move and build a house, and that's going to come with a new bar and all that stuff. So Play-Doh's on hold until after.
Yeah, when you get the new house. Yeah. Let it be the tech house. You build your house with Ethernet everywhere, or I hear that's kind of on the out these days.
So it might be in my mind right now. I'm like, I want every single wall in the house to have like 3 Ethernet ports.
Yeah.
I know I need to, Parade of Homes is starting up pretty soon. I'm going to start seeing what that stuff is. I've got a lot of research to do around what people are doing in homes now, because wireless is the future. I know that, but yeah,
what is the future?
Huh?
What did you say is the future? You cut out.
Wireless.
Oh, wireless. Yeah.
Mesh networks and shit. Wi-Fi 6 or 7 or 15 or whatever it's on now.
I have that, but I still have, my rig and my setup hardwired in. So
I don't like my main PC. Like, I don't see how I'm never like. I'm probably always going to be hardwired in.
Yeah.
It's just more reliable. You don't get interference and all that shit from your neighbors.
Yeah. Matt says he loves his keg scales. Again, so Matt, I'm telling you, man, you missed the first half of the show. I mentioned it like 3 times, but my mic is flying out.
It was actually sick, Matt. He was all Matt this and Matt that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's got a little man crush.
I feel Matt, I'm so sorry, man, because like I mentioned, and I just think that you put out good content, and I want to make sure that like the 4 people that listen to our show go and follow you. But so I even look at this.
Oh, look at that.
It wasn't on purpose. It was just the first clean shirt I pulled out of my laundry.
Wait, hold on a second. Back up. I see that hot. That's a Nintendo 64 controller.
You need to talk to him about his logo. He has lots of good things to say.
That's okay. That's respect. Give me flashbacks to Ocarina of Time.
But go watch Matt's video on building his keg scales. It's the most detailed video on building a homemade keg scale. It's on YouTube right now, probably. I would wager it might even be the only one. So repping the merch, yeah, buddy. It's a sweet logo, man, and it's a comfortable shirt. It's not like a shitty, like a rough cottony, like Gildan shirt or whatever. It's soft and comfortable, whatever the hell it is. So, yeah, I'll rep it. I'll rep it, man.
Gotta have good quality shirts. I just realized for the longest time I pulled out my Michigan Brews shirt to wear, and here I am an hour and a half into the show, just realizing that I
You got the
didn't
hat.
put it on.
You're good, man.
Yeah, I see. I try. It's just bedtime with the kiddo was. He was a wild child today.
It's warm. Nobody wants to go to bed when it's like warm.
He was overtired and like he knew he wanted to go to bed, but didn't want to go to bed. So,
you got to get him started on audiobooks,
dude, we aren't there yet. He took a screwdriver to bed. That's where we're at. It's
real or plastic.
No, it was plastic. He would he would have taken a real one if I would have let him, but I'm afraid he's gonna like poke himself in the eye or something like that while he sleeps. So yeah, no, it's especially since I've been working on my deck recently, like he's just constantly got his nose like pressed against the glass, like looking at me working outside, and he's like, screwdriver. I'm like, yeah, I've got a drill. Like, drill. Sorry, detracting entirely.
No. Technology.
Yeah, technology.
I use a drill to run my grain mill, so absolutely. Yeah.
I do have a spare drill now because I had to buy a circular saw for my deck project, so I've got a drill.
How does a circular saw replace a drill?
Combos, man. They come in
combo. Yeah, exactly.
Wait,
it was
what?
cheaper to buy a combo set than it was to buy the tool standalone.
You're kidding me.
No, I am not. I could have bought the circular saw for like 170, or it was 150 for a circular saw, a drill, 2 batteries, and a charger. So just bought the combo set. So now I've got 2 drills and like 4 or 5 batteries.
Mount one of those up, man. Make a mill table.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually been looking at sweet. Speaking of technology, apparently, like I saw this a while ago on Reddit. So when people like when batteries go dead or a drill goes bad, like a hand drill, usually speaking, the motor inside that's usually pretty good. So I've read about people buying old drills, like say an old DeWalt or something like that, and pulling the casing off of it. So you just have the drill and the motor, and then rerouting that rather than going to a battery to be a plug-in. Using that as your motor for your grain mill. So you just have, it's like you buy something for $20, buy a motor for $20 off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Craigslist, dating myself because I'm not sure that's a thing anymore. But yeah,
Matt, we just got your next video idea, man.
Do it
up. Yeah.
Do it, dude.
Right on.
I know this Ferndale beer is hitting hard. I went through my entire list of technology things I wrote down today. The only thing that I didn't cover that I was going to mention was I guess this doesn't really count as technology, but I wanted to mention how much I use mesh bags and hop filters, like the keg hop. Like what do you call those things? You throw hops into this thing, you screw a top on it, and you throw it into a keg. What are those things called? Not a spider, but just like a hop metal mesh thing,
like a hop cylinder.
Yeah, hop cylinder. Perfect.
I know what you're talking about.
Shayna and I are making a wine kit right now. We're making a Syrah. Thank you. And
or so Shiraz. maybe.
Yeah, I know. I don't think the Z is pronounced, but I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
didn't think so
fancy.
either, but I started second guessing myself
I
in
know.
my head after I said it. I'm like, wait, this is recorded. Do I like
We so the kit came with all these things. So it came with like it came with wine tannin. I think it was chestnut tannin, and it came with some like wood shavings, like not even wood. Um, uh, uh, Definitely not wood chunks, but like what's the other like really fine wood that you normally see that like extracts like really quickly? Wood
Is it whiskey chips?
chips?
chips.
Chunks?
Jesus, my vocabulary is failing me spectacularly
Drink
tonight.
more beer, Brian.
I can't remember the name of a power strip. I can't remember the name of small pieces of wood.
We'll get
But
you a real soon, buddy. We'll get you
yeah,
a
thanks, man. Yeah. So it doesn't even come with wood chips. It comes with like wood like shrapnel.
Perfect.
Yeah, and so it has you mix the wine juice and the water, and it comes with EC 1118. And I was like, I'm not going to use that, so I bought D254 to use instead. And
He's talking to
and
these folks.
so Shanna's like, you're not following the instructions. Like, you're not using the yeast that they gave us, and like you're not, doing this. And part of me is like, I know maybe we should follow the instructions, but part of me like is like, I've made so much mead recently that I'm like, I know some of these things, just like if you follow like a introductory beer kit, like set of instructions, it's like not with modern practices anymore, sort of
No.
thing.
Come on,
It's
you know
designed to
you,
make it easier for you rather than
you know
right.
you were all like, I'm a national homebrew medal winning
I don't, yeah.
brewer. I don't need no stinking instructions.
Brian actually wears all of his medals every time.
Every night I go downstairs to do shit. So Shayna's like, cash check. So we were driving home from, we both got our haircut like pretty much at the same time today. And we passed this Rite Aid over on Westnedge that was torn down. We were both, guessing what was going to go into it. And I'm like, maybe like an oil change place or like a cash checking place. And she's like, a cash checking place? I'm like, a cash checking place, like, where you cash checks, or where you check cashes or something, like, yeah, where you check cash. I'm like, I was like so adamant that I had it in the right order.
That you didn't.
Yeah. And she's like, it took me another quarter of a mile down the road until I was like until I understood where she was, going with this. I was like, oh shit, like, you cash checks,
Right.
you don't check cashes. Yeah.
And
So
if that was happening when he was sober, then you need to keep your eye out for stroke signs.
I told her, I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to double check my life insurance policy because there's the potential I have some like crazy ass tumor right now. I was so, so positive that I was saying the right thing.
You're halfway through the year. You got to bump up your life insurance policy next year, man.
I know. Where was I even going before that? I don't remember. I don't remember what I was talking about.
We lost the journey.
We usually do.
That's okay.
You were bitching about not needing to follow instructions on a wine.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, I did my own thing. We'll see how it turns out. But I used my metal hop thing that normally
Hop spider? Is that what they call them?
It's not. So the hop spider sits on top of a boil kettle, and it's called the spider because it has all the legs that come out of it. But this thing just goes into a keg. It's just like a hop cylinder. Like you said, I think it's just a hop cylinder.
Hop hanger?
Yeah, I don't know. But in any case, I use it with the lid off, and I stick my I need to finish sentences quicker. I stick my racking cane into it, so the liquid fills inside the cylinder, but all the gunk on the outside doesn't go into it, like little wood bits and stuff like that. Yeah. So I racked the wine from inside the cylinder last night so that none of the little itty bitty wood chunks would get into secondary. Yeah, hop screen, hop tube, yeah, all that stuff, Brandon. Thank you. And so I think that is really, really nice, depending on the type of alcohol that you're making. I use it a lot when I'm using fruit in my mead, as long as it's not a seedy fruit like a raspberry or a blackberry. If you're using cherries or currants, it works super, super well. It makes sure that your racking cane absolutely will not get clogged with anything. I
I'm gonna
probably
do that
go
with my
from
mead.
getting like for my heavily fruited meads, I probably go from getting like maybe like a 55%, extraction, maybe closer to like 65%. It gets you another extra quart of like mead or something like that. But for the wine, I think it worked pretty well. I think we got about 5.5 gallons off the 6 gallon batch last night, which is about as expected, but no issues with clogging or anything like that, which you could expect from having little bits of wood and stuff like that inside your batch. But two, an oversized mesh bag. So, gosh, what's their website? Is it brewinabag.com? I'm going to check it just to make sure I'm right. Yeah, brewinabag.com. So go to their website. You can order really high quality mesh bags in different micron amounts, depending on how wide you want your opening. And for my meads, my seeded meads, I buy, not for every batch, but I have a couple bags that fit inside my plastic bucket fermenters that are a little bit oversized. And I will sort of just like cover my bucket with this mesh bag, pour all my fruit and honey and water and stuff like that inside of it, and then sort of tuck the bag back inside before I close the lid. And it leaves enough. It's essentially doing that. It's essentially leaving the inside of the fermenter as big as the size of the bucket itself is. But when you need to rack, you can stick the racking cane inside and shove the bag aside a little bit and
I
just
was just
rack
gonna
from
say, yeah.
outside the bag, and not have to worry about all the seeds from the raspberries and stuff like that. And it works so well. It stains the bag, and you do have to turn it inside out and sort of like kind of scrape through it and pick the raspberry seeds and stuff out afterwards. But I mean, as long as you're willing to invest a little bit of time into the cleaning afterwards and then like boil it, it's a great investment. The bags are expensive, ish. I would say I pay $40 or so for the size of bag I want after shipping. But for the ease of use for doing these types of like beers or meads, oh my god, like the headache that it saves is completely worth the investment. Totally look into that if you're doing anything with like small seeds. Absolutely.
I know.
That's my spiel. Was that like a 20-minute spiel about like
I think so.
like bags and
Yeah.
hopping?
Yeah.
I'm just fucking with you. That's good. It's good stuff. Let's do some housekeeping. So we haven't really discussed it. We're still working out, we need to do a pre-show, post-show for HomebrewCon, which Brian and I are going with Brandon, and then hopefully some other keepers. That'll be the the week before the last week of June 22nd, 3rd, 4th.
So maybe skipping next week and then doing pre-show.
Yeah.
The week after. Okay.
So yeah, I'm not able to be on next week. I already have an appointment. So no show next week. We'll be back for a kind of pre-planning HomebrewCon, and then we'll come back after with if it met our expectations or whatnot.
If you are in Michigan, which I hope you are if you're watching the show, but if you're not, thank you for watching the show. We love you. The Michigan State Fair is going to be coming up, which means the Michigan State Fair Homebrew Competition is coming up, as well as the Michigan
for my entries.
Yeah, as well as the Michigan Homebrew Festival and the Michigan Beer Cup. So keep an eye out for that stuff. The Michigan State Fair Homebrew Competition is already up, and you can register right now. The Michigan Beer Cup will be early July.
Registration will open, I believe, June 24th.
Oh, shoot. End of June. Okay. Very cool. Okay.
But registration will be open in late June, and then drop off for both competitions is mid-July.
Okay.
So, but if you're listening to this, you're in Michigan, you're not in Michigan, it doesn't matter. If you're going to HomebrewCon, look us up.
Let us know. Yeah, let's look up, drink some beer and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, that will be there drinking beer anyways. So,
Yeah.
All right.
Right on.
Well, thank you all for tuning in tonight. And as we say, some nights when we remember, if you're listening to us on the podcast later, go ahead and rate us if you like listening to what we do. Give us a 5. If you don't, give us a 1, and we'll try to be better for you. We'll cry into our beers and stuff like that.
Give us some sort of feedback. We'll change something.
If you're watching on Facebook, you're probably already following us. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe and do things that are YouTube-y. I don't know anymore. So, yeah, guys.
Cheers.
Have a good night. Cheers. And we'll catch you in a couple weeks.